I do. Well, welcome to April's Benefits and Compensation Pick, hosted by me, myself, Doris Frencha, and sponsored by the Fort Worth HR Association. If you are not part or a member, please become a member. But guess what? We'll have you back because this is free anyway. So today's speaker, or this month's speaker, is Susie Hubbard. She is absolutely amazing and knows all things about benchmarking compensation, which is how we are going to all attract and retain the best talent, right? Making sure they're happy, they're paid, and we're paying a competitive salary. So for the recording, I love y'all beautiful faces, but for the recording, if we could go turn off our videos so that we don't have any slacking or lagging, whatever the right word is, and mute yourselves. I'm going to hand this call over to Susie Hubbard. And please know, I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you do have a question or anything like that, please don't hesitate to throw your question in the chat or raise your hand, and I'll get Susie's attention to get your question answered. So with that, Susie, thank you so much for your time today. We've been having a lot of good feedback and questions about your topic. This floor is yours, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. And Doris, it's an absolute pleasure to get to know you and the Fort Worth HR chapter. So thank you all for being here. I am probably one of the nerdiest, excited people you'll ever meet. And so this is a topic that I'm passionate about and that I can't wait to share some knowledge. And hopefully you walk away feeling a little bit more educated about salary benchmarking, because we all know, as Doris said, that it can drive a lot of conversations, and it's how you attract and retain talent in one significant way. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I just want to make sure everybody can see the presentation. Bear with me here for just a second. Okay. Here we go. Is everybody able to see the benchmarking compensation presentation on my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Okay, great. Yay. Technology is working for me today. This is exciting. So to just give a little bit of an intro, my name is Susie Hubbard. Susan is my real name, but I go by Susie. My friends and family call me that. I am the president of Herculean HR LLC. After being in corporate America for a bit, for over a decade, I decided that I was going to branch out on my own and start Herculean HR. Hercules is my maiden name, so that's where this comes from. So I'm the president of that little HR consulting firm, and I live just a little bit north of McKinney on the Dallas side of the Metroplex, but I love Fort Worth. Love it to death. Such a charming and great place. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just dive in. We all have had conversations about compensation in our HR careers, and sometimes they can go really smoothly, and sometimes they can be a bit challenging. So, I want to go over a few of the concepts and what we're going to be discussing today in our learning objectives. So, first, what is industry and salary benchmarking? Second, how benchmarking compensation affects you and your company? Third, what's needed for successful benchmarking? Fourth, where to find credible benchmarking data. Fifth, what to do if your company's budget or revenue isn't in line with the reports that are found with the salary benchmarking reports. And then finally, what other resources are available for benchmarking if time or budget is limited? This is a really great opportunity to look at different examples and to understand how important salary benchmarking is. So, with comparing different benchmarking reports, we need to understand what is industry and salary benchmarking. Why is it important? So, industry benchmarking and salary benchmarking, they're kind of used or they're synchronic. I can't even talk right now. Kind of used synonymously. As far as they're concerned, comparing different companies within a specific industry or market using qualitative and quantitative measures is what salary and industry benchmarking is. What kind of measures do you use in your company? There are so many different measures to choose from, but a few of them includes customer satisfaction, productivity, revenue, profitability, and sustainability. When we talk about how benchmarking compensation affects your company, there's a lot of different areas that it can affect your company, and we'll dive in a little bit more as far as what that looks like. As we all know, the war on talent is growing. There are so many different positions and niche positions and different companies that require different roles, and it can be really difficult to find the right information and the right talent and to be able to attract them. When we look at benchmarking compensation, it's just a small piece as part of a total rewards package that can be offered to employees and prospective employees. It will be a great way for you to attract and retain that top talent with having that confidence that you need in order to get that person on board and be excited for joining your organization. Did you know that most companies are looking at salary benchmarking data, which is largely from or focused on the industry, which most companies are looking at that 80 or 87% are looking at the industry and the state. So at the state level, it's very important demographically for us to look at the different demographics around the United States and to see what is appropriate salary benchmarking and what do those rates look like because of where they live. As HR professionals, we're always thinking about where someone lives, what's their cost of living, how are we going to attract and retain talent with a price that isn't going to break the bank, but also isn't going to be so low that the person walks away from an offer. According to a Harvard Business Review survey conducted in 2020, 89% of all firms look at median market pay or the average. So, not all companies have the budget, and we'll get into that a little bit more later down the line, but not all companies have the budget to pay in the 75th percentile or even higher. Of course, we have a natural bell curve with a lot of different positions, but it's important for us to know that a lot of companies are looking at the median or the average. Each measure may give insight to industry norms, best practices, or averages reflected from companies that are in the private and public sector. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find information, but we know that there is information available to us from both sides of the private and public sectors that can be very helpful when it comes to a total rewards package. So we can also talk about evaluating company performance, identifying different gaps, and looking at realistic goals. All of those things are extremely important when it comes to salary benchmarking and the total reward statement. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to source, attract, and retain top talent, as we all know, and to focus on clients or talent-based organizational goals and demands. Have you found it difficult at any time to fill positions, whether it's for an administrative role or for a key role? I'm sure that we've all experienced that. The salary benchmarking is a way for us to close that gap and bridge the gap so that we know that we are offering something that is meaningful to an employee. Benchmarking, as I mentioned before, is not just about compensation. The total rewards that come in are also important in looking at the holistic package for an employee. Benchmarking helps leaders evaluate company performance, identify gaps, and set realistic goals, as I mentioned before. When looking at a total rewards package, what does that really mean? What does total rewards really mean? Some companies have the funds, as we've talked about before, that they're able to offer a competitive salary, but it's not just the salary or the pay that is going to attract and retain great talent. We all want to have that great candidate, but we don't want to come in at a low price and lose out, but we also don't want to overstretch the budget or break the budget that we may have for that particular role. When looking at total rewards, employees are looking for both the monetary side of it and the perks and benefits of the company. What does the culture look like? Everything that's part of the total rewards package and total compensation includes the monetary elements that we all are familiar with: salary, commissions, bonuses, stocks, all of those monetary rewards that an employee is eligible to receive. And then when we talk about health and welfare benefits, health and welfare benefits, retirements, 401k, 403bs and IRAs, PTO, wellness programs, flexible work schedules, and career growth opportunities, those are part of a total rewards statement, or a total rewards package that we can offer an employee, and it will help set the organization apart from other organizations that may not be doing those same things. We all know the Googles and the Amazons and the Yahoos of the world, and even Apple. They have a culture and a total compensation and a total rewards package that's extremely attractive for a lot of workers. And even though we may be in a small organization, we don't have to go to great lengths to make a big difference in our employees' lives and to help them feel like they are receiving competitive wage, a competitive pay with a great company and a great culture. Do you offer your employees a total reward statement? Do you go over this at all with them? Do your company or do your employees understand the value that they're receiving, and as part of their total rewards, what the company contributes towards their benefits? All of these things that are extraneous to the monetary value they receive are often overlooked in different companies, and it's easy to do that. Sometimes it's really difficult to put a total reward statement together and to show the employee, we're covering 50% of your medical premium, or we've established an employee assistance program that will be able to help you in times of need. I've seen so many different companies offer different benefits, and some of them cost the company a lot of money. I think we all know that benefits are expensive, but there are some benefits that are out there that are not only going to help with your health insurance plans and help with your experience rates, but are also going to help your employees stay engaged with your organization. This simple document with a total reward statement is critical to have. So I would highly recommend that if you're not process or you're not in that in that process right now, or you're not utilizing a total reward statement, to put one together. They're very easy to put together. It's a one-page snapshot, so it can be gone over very quickly with employees, and it's something that you can hand to them that's going to show them the value of what their employment is. If you have any questions about that or how to do that, that's where we can help each other. There's a lot of resources out there. Okay, so this begs the question, what's needed for successful benchmarking? There is so much that's involved with salary benchmarking that we have to be aware of, but we need a solid foundation of understanding of what key responsibilities, duties, and functions are needed for a role. And we all know, how many times does a manager come and they want to hire someone new, or they want a new position to be created, or they're looking to replace or add to their department. That happens all the time. And what's the first thing we usually talk about as HR professionals? Do you have a job description? And I know we can all get eyes rolled and think, oh, it's such an administrative thing that I don't want to deal with, or that managers don't want to deal with. But having a comprehensive job description is a great way to start to make sure that your benchmarking it can be effective, and that you're in line with the company's values and the mission, so you can attract and retain that great talent. There are many companies who don't have job descriptions, and I'm sure none of us have ever come across a company that had all job descriptions for all positions. But no matter what the importance of the role to the organization, every position needs a valid and a comprehensive job description. Sometimes it's a little bit daunting to look at job descriptions, but if we're setting that foundation where we know that we have a position that needs to be filled, that job description is also going to aid in making sure that we can have performance conversations with the employee. We can help them understand the expectations of the job and the roles and responsibilities that they have, and overall what kind of environment they're going to be in, what work is going to be performed, and we can manage to those expectations. There may be physical characteristics or attributes needed to perform the job duties with or without reasonable accommodation. In our ever-growing world, in the work world, there are so many more things that are covered underneath the Americans with Disabilities Act and those different disabilities that are considered valid. And so, as we engage in conversations and write that job description, we can have that great conversation with the employee to make sure that they're able to perform the essential functions and duties of their position with or without a reasonable accommodation. There are also environmental factors, which include working conditions that we need to discuss. How embarrassing would it be if you hired a construction worker, for example? They showed up at their first day of orientation, and then they didn't realize that the majority of their job was going to be outside 200 feet in the air. That would be embarrassing as an HR professional, wouldn't it? So we can use the job description and outlining it and going over it in detail for employees to understand their roles and how they can perform their job very well. We also look at job descriptions to talk about the frequency of tasks, how those tasks are going to be implemented in the company, why they're making a difference. We also want the employee to understand that their role is critical to the smooth operations of the company. Without the smooth operations of the company and with confusion, obviously performance issues can happen, attendance issues can happen, and engagement can go way down. So it's very important to take a look and make sure that job descriptions are part of total compensation and for you to be able to feel confident in the reports that you're receiving when you run a salary benchmarking test. Benchmarking helps leaders evaluate company performance, identify the gaps, and those things that we've talked about before. So when we move forward after we have a constructed job description, we are ready to start looking at benchmarking and how it's going to affect our particular organization. There are so many resources, and I have found that there are some very well-known ones that can be a little bit pricey, but there's also free tools that are available to us through the government. And we're going to touch on a little bit of some of those today. So, the US Census, for HR professionals, I don't know if any of you have gone on to the US Census and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you've ever had insomnia and you've gone to that website to pull some of the reports, your insomnia is cured right away. Which is is really relieving. But you can go to bed feeling like you have extra knowledge. So the U.S. Census includes industry-specific and general surveys that can be used to determine business metrics. Now, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS, has established what's called the Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages, or QCW. And this is a program which publishes a quarterly count of employment and wages reported by employers covering more than 95% of US jobs available at the county, MSA, state, and national levels by industry. When you take a look at this website, you can see right away how you can go down several rabbit holes and get so engaged in the reports that are put out there. But being able to drill down and seeing these statistics will really help you as well with your salary benchmarking data and feeling confident about where it's coming from. Now, the next thing that is on this list is the annual business survey program or ABS program. I had not learned about this before I started human resources, and I was really interested to find out what the ABS program does and why they established. This program offers or provides info on select economic and demographic characteristics of businesses or for businesses and business owners by sex, ethnicity, race, and veteran status. So it's a much more niche and much more drilled down, specialized data program that you can tap into to see where are some of these small businesses, minority owned businesses, women owned businesses, veteran owned businesses, and taking a look at those statistics is pretty fascinating. The ABS is conducted jointly by the US Census Bureau and the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics with the National Science Foundation. So they have a lot of pieces of information that come together to make this report and this program meaningful. The ABS samples approximately 850,000 different employer businesses every 5 years and approximately 300,000 employer businesses annually. So, as you can imagine, it takes a long time to compile this data and put it together. On February 8th of this year, the ABS reported that women owned 41.1%, or approximately 11.2 million businesses in the United States, and minorities owned 36.7, or about 10 million of the nation's non-employer businesses. You may ask yourself, what's a non-employer business? A non-employer business is a company that does not have hired employees. As we all know, with the pandemic, it became very popular as people were laid off for them to become consultants or to try to go into an area where they could make ends meet. And so during the pandemic and even now, their business ownership of just a sole proprietor or establishing an LLC has risen dramatically. So, this particular report and this program is designed to include information of those non employer businesses. With that data, they collect it, and it took them 4 years to compile the data since the data they collected was back from 2020. So pre-pandemic, and it took that long to be able to provide the data and the results to the public. So it takes time when you're surveying over 850,000 businesses. The ABS program also uses the Census Bureau and other federal agencies when they do their reports. And data includes research and development, innovation, sales, payroll, and employee demographics. So we can hone in a little bit more with the ABS, and it's again a free program that you can take a look at if you are interested. They also collect data on nonprofits. So it's nice to know that on both sides of the coin, with the nonprofits and the for-profit businesses, that you can have some insights into those companies. If you go to their website, it's just the census.gov website. You'll be able to pull down reports and see how this program is administered and where the numbers are coming from. According to Adobe Business, the US BLS is a great place to start for local government benchmarking, but a quick search for your local municipality will pull up helpful information on registered businesses in your area, consumer trends, and much more. Sometimes we all think, would a business survive in a particular area within the United States? And if business owners understand how local government takes these statistics and can help them with planning and development, then they know and can feel confident that where they open their doors, they're going to experience sales. Where there is foot traffic and where there are physical locations for that business, they can be kept track of by the local government or a municipality. So that's another resource that you can tap into if you have someone who says, have a leader that comes to you and says, I'm thinking about opening an office somewhere else. What do you think? And you can provide value for them to help them feel confident about where they may open a new location. Any physical business, anyone that has foot traffic is a great candidate to become part of the local government benchmarking statistics. Now we kind of go over to the more paid services when it comes to finding credible benchmarking data. Many paid sources are available for HR professionals, such as Lattice, which is powered by Mercer, Salary.com, Payscale.com, and Levels.fyi. There are so many salary benchmarking tools that are out there, but again, it's important for HR professionals to feel confident in the data that is being presented. Lattice partnered with Mercer back in July of 2022, so their partnership is pretty recent. But as we know, Mercer is a very well-known data collection company, and they do a very good job to present the data in a meaningful and an understandable way. So with Lattice, when you run a report in Lattice, these reports can drill down and include parameters of company size, industry, location, and specific job titles, which is pretty standard, but it's great to be able to drill down even further. This product is an add-on feature to the monthly membership fee that Lattice charges, and they charge it per employee per month. And like I said, it's an add-on. So you can join Lattice, and then they have a specific salary um, module, if you will, that you can look at and add to your program or add to their platform. Now, most people are very familiar with Salary.com. Salary.com's product is called Comp Analyst, and that utilizes data reported from companies only. So it's not sourced from employee data um, or public websites. A subscription is required in order to run a report, and different packages are available. A job valuation report is also available where you can build your job and report for you, and experts over at salary.com will help price that job out. I think a common question that I've looked at in the past is saying, well, how much for this duty should I pay? What is competitive? That's something that salary.com can also help with. Now, the last one, levels.fyi, their team validates and checks all data points using verified offer letters and pay statements. So they do reach out to employees and they request their offer letters, and their signed offer letters, and then that information goes into their database. They claim to be the only compensation data source that provides detailed breakdown by company, level, location, skills, size, and more. Their plans range in price, and you won't be surprised because with Apple, Netflix, and Roblox using them, their product is expensive. It can range from $350 a month to over $4,000 a month, depending on how many licenses you want with their platform. Now, I want to put a little bit of a caution out there. When we look at platforms like Glassdoor and Indeed, where there is employee reported data, the most important thing to remember is that valid data? Is it considered credible? And that's a valid question to ask. So, although many companies turn to those tools and resources, it's always important to be able to back the data up with proven strategies when you're talking to your leadership team about salary benchmarking and offering a competitive wage as well as a total rewards package. So, the information is not verified when it comes to Glassdoor and Indeed and some of those other platforms. Have you ever run into a salary or a situation where you run a salary benchmarking report and find the results to be outside your company's budget? I'm sure none of us have ever experienced that, have we? but many people have. We feel like we've hit a brick wall, and that can be very difficult, especially when we know we're working for a fantastic organization that is looking for superb talent. So, what do we do at that point? We have to get creative with the solution. Putting on that creative hat in HR can sometimes be a little bit daunting and overwhelming, but don't worry. There are so many resources and great things available to you to utilize that are going to help you feel more confident with a solution. First, we can think about SMART goals. I think we're all a little bit familiar with SMART goals, but if you're not, remember it needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. We also need to evaluate our culture. Are you a best places to work award recipient or employer? A lot of employees are looking for those types of awards and recognition because they know that's going to be a good experience for them. So strive to look at what does it take to become a best places to work and how can you be included on that list. The last thing is that you can think about ways your organization can stand out compared to competitors. You can also conduct an employee satisfaction survey. It can be a little bit overwhelming once you get the results. However, once you have a chance to quantify the results and to look at the feedback that employees have provided, then having a seat at the table and saying, we don't have to tackle all of these issues or that employees are concerned about all at one time, you can schedule it so that quarterly goals are looked at and implement any changes that are going to help your organization stand out over a 3 to 6 month period. So I think as HR professionals, sometimes we get so excited about change and about culture and making a difference that we overwhelm ourselves with all the things that we have to do. So it's important to take a step back, talk with leadership, and make sure that everyone is engaged and behind the principles that you are trying to talk about. There are other available resources. Of course, you have your industry analysts. Most of these platforms with salary.com and with PayScale and those companies hire analysts in order to compile the data to research and to provide the information that's needed to have a competitive salary benchmarking report and to be able to use that information. So industrial analysts are a great tool to use when it comes to understanding what may be needed in your specific industry. Now, of course, there's also their HR consulting firms. Are you partnered? Are you knowledgeable? Are you partnered with someone who can help you understand and run those salary benchmarking reports and that are going to be able to provide value to you in your organization? Sometimes when we look at memberships and all the costs of human resources and realize that there's some budgets that just don't allow for thousands of dollars a month, that's when you can turn to HR consulting firms and professionals to help you run those reports with confidence and to help you when you have that seat at the table with leadership. I know I have covered a lot of information in this time, so I just want to open the floor up if there are any questions. But first, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I hope that you've taken away some valuable pieces of information that are going to help leverage you and increase your confidence when it comes to salary benchmarking. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hey, this is Kimmer Moore. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for this presentation. Good job. I really agree with everything that you said and more. Um, and I do, this is what I do for a living, kind of a lot along this line. So I want to ask you, with what you've been doing, either in your research or in the work that you've been on the comps, I see artificial intelligence tie into this. So feel like it's on the cusp. It's not yet, but I'm starting to see some tools, usually with the bigger providers, that have an artificial intelligence type mechanism that is meant to bridge the gap between the jobs that they do get reporting on and the jobs that they don't get reporting on. So I was curious what has been your perspective on that as well, and some of these tools, either the ones you talked about, or maybe some of the other providers, like the big benchmark houses, like Bradford and Mercer and things like that.
It's incredible, isn't it? I was talking to
Mhm.
a good friend of mine just a couple days ago, and there is so much information that is out there. And one of the questions that I asked him is, who who do you turn to? How do you go and get all of this information
Yeah,
and make sure that it is credible? And so I love artificial intelligence. No, I don't think that it can ever replace a human
yeah,
because we
no,
need to have that human touch. But we also can look at artificial intelligence, looking at AI and all of the different tools. There are so many companies and platforms that are emerging on a daily basis.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And sometimes it's really hard to know, is this going to be a company that's going to be around for a long time? But a lot of them are trying out different things with bots and with their research that is supposedly helping them to collect this data. Now, I also think it's an interesting concept because how many companies are willing to share to share the information that they have, and how do you convince them to participate? So
yeah,
I'm very interested about it, but I know that AI has a place in this, especially when you look at the benchmarking reports that the BLS does and it taking 4 years. So I'm excited to
yeah,
see where the time, consistency, and the consolidation is going to happen to make it even easier for us to access the data. I don't know if I
yeah.
answered
I
your
agree.
question, but I hope I did.
No, and that's okay. It was kind of one of those. I bet who knows yet. We really
Yeah.
don't know. It's so early, and I think
That's
what
so
I'm
early.
seeing, or I guess I'm predicting, is one, it's going to be an avenue for just another data point, because with compensation, there's never one true gospel. I mean, you have to have multiple resources. You have to, and you have to have that human element that kind of is not only looking at what does this benchmark say, what does this benchmark say, what are my candidates saying, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the candidate market moves faster than the data that we get. So I just think, one, uh it's gonna be another data point, especially for gap jobs that are hard to benchmark, those purple squirrels. And then what'll be interesting is how analytics with it. That's the part I don't know yet. But I'll be curious to see how. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out, you guys. I apologize. Fellow
You're
comp geeks
fine.
here,
This
but
is
Great.
I think a
yeah.
lot of people were asking
But I was
that.
just curious. Yeah, I'm asking that question every time I get a chance. So I figured I'd spring it on you.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have a
Oh,
definitive answer. I don't think anybody does.
yeah. Well, I
So
can
no,
tell
thank you,
you.
Carmen.
Yeah.
So if everyone could, if you're still in a position to come back on camera, for those of you that are new, we do a see. No, I won't want to see y'all faces. We do our at the end of every call, we do our, jazz hands or whatever to end the call, so we can make people jealous on LinkedIn who didn't come and join us. So come on back if you can. Let's see your beautiful faces. And while you're doing that, I want to let you guys know that next month's call, third Wednesday, in honor of Mental Health Month for May, we're going to have Dr. Lay Richardson, and she's going to be presenting mental health in the workplace. The objectives will be, what are the biggest mental health challenges being addressed in 2024? That's what you will know at the end of her webinar. What you as a manager can do to help your team members, and what you as an individual can do to create your own psychological safety. So I think that's going to be an amazing topic next month for mental health awareness month. So let me get my little snipper thingy ready.
Doris, if you don't mind, really quick before we snap a great photo, I am going to share my slides with everyone, and if you are interested in looking at further Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. If you're interested in talking more and geeking out with me about salary and benchmarking, and industry benchmarking, and really, I mean, just human resources in general, I would be honored to speak with you and help you in any way. My contact information, as well as my LinkedIn, are all part of this presentation. And so, please don't hesitate to reach out. You're not alone as an HR professional, and we want you to feel like you have the tools and resources and colleagues that you need to feel confident when it comes to these kinds of matters. So I would be honored to help you. And again, just thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely, Susie. I'm sorry. I didn't let you give your offer. I'm so sorry. But yes, we're gonna have the recording and the follow-up email. Send me the deck and we'll get this to everybody. Please reach out to Susie, you guys. All right, so we're gonna act silly or serious for our more scheduled people on the call. Or you can be funny and hilarious, whatever. But whatever you're gonna do on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next month, third Wednesday, mental health awareness. And you have an amazing, spontaneous or scheduled month until then. Okay?
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.